Hi everyone, welcome to this channel. My name is Lavanya and I'm a qualified chartered accountant. I qualified all my levels in the first attempt and I also hold a CA foundation. With this video, my aim is to actually highlight common resume mistakes and mistakes that I made when I was sitting for my placings that I hope help others to avoid making these mistakes. The first thing that I'm going to do is I want to break down the resume into different parts, right? So the first part of your resume is obviously your profile section, which is your name, your address, your date of birth, etc. Then would be your educational qualifications. Third will be your work experience. In case of CA students, will be your articleship experience. And the fourth thing would come under your extracurriculars, awards, and things like that. And the fifth part on the last head would be your miscellaneous items like your technical skills and languages known. That would be the bucket I would put it in. When I was making my resume, I realized that there are three parts which I put a lot of emphasis on. One would be your educational qualifications, second would be your work experience, and the third is your extracurriculars, right? Because these are three places that you have some influence over. If I take out educational experience, right, ensure that your educational experience is in a tabular format, which means it should not be taking up more than 25% of the space on your one-page CV, if that's what you're making. It's tabular, it clearly lists out, which year you passed out, from where you passed out. As CA students, when was your attempt, and if you hold a rank, do mention that rank over there. That is your educational qualifications. There is not much that you can, tally over there or change over there. But the second place, the two places where you can play around with, which is in your control, is your work experience, be it your articleship experience or if you have any work experience post your articleship. In your articleship experience, ensure that you quantify details, right? Ensure that you say that worked on 7 plus in clients belonging to these many industries, right? That gives the person looking at your resume more data and data driven points rather than saying that I worked on this, right? So ensure that you're quantifying everything. So, for example, you have found some errors in certain areas. Ensure that you quantify the impact of it. Also, found misstatements worth 200 crore, right? So ensure that you are quantifying all your details because the moment you quantify it, it becomes tangible. You can't just say let it be, right? You need to say that, led a team as a field in charge for more than these many audits. And, this was the impact I had. This was like the size of the client that I had. Or I was appreciated by the CFO for the way I led the, right? Obviously, ensure that you're putting these in such a way it brings out your qualities. It brings out the impact you had. It doesn't just mention saying that, I worked on this client, I worked on this industry, and this was the work I did. Like, I worked on areas like revenue, payroll, etc. And these were like the vouching, the verification, the controls testing. This is what I've been doing. So I realized that it has to be quantifiable. So if you worked on revenue, what was the impact that you had? Maybe you found out that there was, an unbilled revenue provision that wasn't put, right? Quantify the impact that you had on the financial statements. For example, if you worked on controls, say that you found, control gaps, maybe like whatever the gaps are, right? You don't have to completely illustrate it, but mention that you found, these control gaps and this was the impact that it had on the financial statements. Because then when a person is looking at your CV, it shows them what is the impact that you had. And a lot of the times as newbies to this whole interview world, we forget to do that or we don't have enough guidance to do that. Now, the third thing that you can play around with is your extracurriculars, your awards, and your achievements, right? Ensure that again, when you're putting out your extracurricular awards, you're not just writing it as does Bharatnatyam or does yoga, right? Ensure that you're quantifying it. So if you've done Bharatnatyam, say that you've done a Arangetram or whatever levels there are, if you have a diploma in it, etc. Or suppose if you do karate, that don't just mention that you do karate, mention that you're a black belt in karate, or mention that, you have won these many accolades, these many national level competitions, and, Explain the impact that you had. If you've played a sport and you've captained the sport, you should mention that captained the team along with and led them to victory in these many tournaments. So ensure that you're quantifying the impact that you had even in your extracurriculars and awards and recognition like that. Suppose you have any volunteering experience, like if you volunteered with an NGO, mention how many kids were there, mention what was the impact that you had. Then when it comes to your awards and recognitions, right, ensure that you're putting what the award is, right? Don't just say one first place, right? You can say better as one first place amongst these many other students, amongst these many people from these many countries, right? That gives the person, the recruiter looking at your resume a sense of scale, right? It shows them that, okay, this person is not just writing it for the sake of it, but has actual data and backing to prove it. So there is something called action words in your resume. So ensure you look up those action words and use these action words in your resume. Now, the next thing I would say is coming to the last portion of your resume, which would be your languages, non-technical skills, hobbies, etc. I would say put languages, non and technical skills because a lot of the times, these ATS softwares which are there, right? They look for keywords such as Microsoft Office, Tally, Oracle, ERP, SAP, etc. So ensure those are there. And a lot of the times, if you're looking at going into a manufacturing sector, they might prefer somebody who knows a certain language. So ensure you put those languages there, but make sure it's not more than 2 lines. I would not suggest adding hobbies and things like reading books, listening to music in your resume because the real estate that you have on that one page CV is very, very important and you should use it to things that add value to your CV. Now, the last and final thing that a lot of us shy away from is send your resume to as many people as you can and get their inputs. Preferably, if it is someone working in that organization, they will know what kind of resumes they're looking at, right? So ensure you're sending your resumes to as many people as possible and getting their inputs and taking their inputs. So I remember I had one version of a resume which had a headline on top saying that a passionate this person who qualified this. 1 or 2 lines, right? Because I know that some traditional companies wanted that, traditional recruiters wanted that. Whereas, in others, like where if I was applying for an industry type role, I ensured that I emphasized on my articleship experience because they're looking at those technical skills. But if I'm applying for a consulting type role, I was like, okay, my extracurriculars and things and that or not too. So take a call and, send it to as many people as possible. And if it is somebody from that organization, also they'll be able to give you much better input. So reach out to people on LinkedIn, ask them to proofread your resume, let them know, what changes you can make. And trust me, that helps. With this, I hope it helped you.